I think it was probably Christmas Eve. 16 years old, and we were living in a bad part of town, a little shack of a house, and it was freezing. We didn't even have adequate heat. The room I was staying in was maybe 4 feet wide and 8 feet long, and had a little bed in there, a little dresser. And on Christmas Eve, I was just sitting there by myself, wrapped up in a couple, thin blankets, and I could see my freezing breath in the air. And I was sitting alone on Christmas Eve. And to me, what I wanted and what I'd had as a child was, Christmas Eve, you have a big meal, and you're with your friends and your family, and you're maybe, opening some presents or anticipation of opening some presents. And it's supposed to be warm and wonderful and happy, and all the lights and the decorations and everybody gathering around. And I was just sitting there by myself. And, just like, this sucks. This really, really sucks. And I want to do whatever I can, whatever has to be done to make sure this never happens again, so that I'm never alone again. Because it was Christmas Eve, Christmas, New Year's, and my birthday was in a close succession, and so those hit pretty hard because I was just alone during that time in the winter. I'm like, I'm done, man. Of all the things I suffered, loneliness was the worst. And so I said, I'm going to do whatever I have to do. I'm going to become whoever I have to become, so this never happens to me again, and definitely never, ever happens to my children. I was hoping to be married and have children and a family. And I'm like, in the future, I'm not going to live like this. I'm going to do things differently. And I ended up having, that night was tough, but I ended up having a really special spiritual experience. I really did some praying. And I just I felt God's love for me, genuinely. Like, it was special. I felt like he just wrapped me in his arms in love and gave me this big spiritual hug that night. It was very comforting and very powerful. So it became a pivotal moment that was reinforcing things I already wanted and desired, but it kind of cemented this commitment. Because there's a big difference, brother, between wanting something, or even the wishfulness we often have. I wish I could have that, or I wish I could do that. Everybody's got that. This wishy-washy wishing, this wishfulness. And then there's deep, deep desire. There's empty wishes and deep, solid desire and commitment. And when we commit to do what must be done to get the result we want, a transformation takes place in us. And then at some point, especially if we're truly committed, at some point we become unstoppable. Not that we know what we're going to do already or know how to do it already, but that we're committed to figuring out how to make it happen. So the commitment in many ways comes first. It's like, you know what? I'm going to make this happen. I'm either going to find a way or I'm going to make one. That's an ancient quote that I adopted as my own belief. I'm either going to find a way or I'm going to make one. And when you commit at that level, you're going to do whatever it takes to make it happen. And that's when you get the results you want. Man, it was true for me. I don't know if it's true for everybody, but man, it was true for me. And I've seen, the way I like to frame it up is that where there's pain, there's power. And we often want to avoid pain, and we want to keep pain away from our children and the people we love. But truly, where there's pain, there's power. And in that context, where there's desperation, there's drive. I like that. Where there's desperation, there's drive. And we have to get